Good morning. It is June the 4th, and we are in the Green Mountains. We are kind of retracing some steps from last week. The pond we are trying to hike out to. I think I mentioned on that video that I have knowledge of an easier way in. That's basically what we're going to do today. So I guess this is in a way a bit of a two-parter, and today's part two. So that's our plan. And the neck of the woods we're going through is going to be a new stretch to a degree. So we're going to connect some points on the map as well. So it's kind of an overlanding dots on the map connector kind of a day. And anything that we get along the way beyond that, I guess, is gravy. So that's our plan for today. And we are going to hit the trail now and see what we get done. So thanks for coming along, and let's get moving. Okay, we're back, and we have taken the turn in the trail juncture that takes us allegedly towards the pond we're at, or where we wanted to get to last week. This is a new stretch of woods, so we'll see what and where that puts us near, and make mental notes for points of interest in the future, and all that. Trying to think of what was going on in the community this week, but it doesn't really seem like much was. If there was, I had a lot going on at work and I didn't really pay attention that much, because some people have a life outside the hobby. You know, sorry, not sorry, it is what it is. So, like I said, today's plan: find the pond if possible, make plans for an outing there. Looks workable. I think you have to do some bushwhacking. I'm hoping for some signage this way. Somewhere in the photo gallery of AllTrails, there was a sign indicating, I think I just walked past it though, so I don't know if there's an actual indicator, you know, for the pond itself. That's kind of the point of the mission today. Going forward, some unfinished business from last year. The electrical area. I am going to go back with my EMF reader and a metal detector. I would like to put to bed once and for all what the hell that is. A little bit of history there. My phone has been damaged in that area twice. The predecessor to this gimbal camera that's moving around right now fried last year beyond repair, specifically in that area. And when I say fry, the camera stopped working during passing through that area, and it was off. At the time, it was not physically on. The SD card in it was thoroughly corrupted and unusable after that. So, for multiple years running now, that field is not a figment of my imagination. It is there. It is very, very real. And if you're an older person and you want coordinates for your safety, notably if you hike with a pacemaker, don't go down that trail. That is advice that might actually save your life. I don't know what it would or wouldn't do to a pacemaker, but to find out the hard way, that's going to cause you issues. You're far enough out in the middle of nowhere, that could become a problem very quickly. Don't go there if you have a pacemaker. This isn't woo, this is very real. That's why I'm bringing the metal detector. My gut feeling is there's a legacy something in the ground, and a metal detector would at least give you a chance of detecting that part, and then you can maybe research deeply with some more knowledge. What else? There are some areas I'm going to return to. We are going to continue lengthy hikes, one through an area the middle of the way up. As we get closer to August, in that time frame, I'm kind of spacing these things out over the summer so I don't kill myself, but there's an area north of there that I need to do some more research on. So those are the plans going forward. I am trying to think of anything. I guess the only thing I'm going to throw is some online nonsense. It's petty stuff, but number one, there is a trend on the Bigfoot forums that the woo has taken over there. Anything that includes the words critical thinking, there are like 2 or 3 members of that forum, I'm sorry, that have been there way the hell too long and are basically what I would call entrenched members. That's their place to talk, and they control the conversation. In the days of forums before Facebook, a forum was rigged by the people who ran the forum in favor of their version of the events or the narrative underlying the phenomenon. That was the nature of how that worked. And if you were someone who didn't see eye to eye with that, back in the day, it was actually more or less a favorable thing where you had the critical thinkers outweighing the woo. And people had a more grounded view of the subject. This day and age, because of the weirdos on Facebook and surrounding social media that have been given more of a free hand, and yes, I am kind of advocating for limiting their input to the subject. All the crap has filtered back in, and it attracts people like moths to the flame. You have... Okay, you know what? Let's do a philosophical work today where we do a breakdown of my issues with the woo. First and foremost, fantastic claims require fantastic evidence. And through the existence of the woo, they produce none. Blurry photos of pareidolia, if blurry photos of anything at all, are not evidence to anyone other than the sad, the lonely, and the gullible. Or the Pied Piper who is leading the blind. Matthew Johnson, Todd Standing, you know who I'm talking about. Bitches. There are people in the woo, don't get me wrong, who are willing to have a civil debate. And those are people I'm willing to hear out for a reason, because it is a belief of mine, and this is not, it's Bigfoot related, but it's not, that I do believe that there's a psychological component to the phenomenon on the human side that plays into human nature. So to that end, I just passed the obligatory moose track I need for the day. God forbid we see the moose, but I'm yapping. Where was I going with that? The fact is, you know, these people, they're a different version of the community than the hoaxers. And by hoaxers, I mean Todd Standing, Tom Biscardi, Rick Dyer. These guys, they know they're hoaxing. They know they're full of shit. And I would make an argument that even though I think Matthew Johnson has definite mental issues, because he does, he also knows he's misleading people. And the first telltale sign of that is if you interact with these people on any level and you're not kissing his ring, you're immediately blocked. Johnson in particular has a track record of immediately blocking doubters. He wants an echo chamber. Others, to a lesser extent, do too. Todd Standing will do that. But Johnson is probably the more notorious of the two in that aspect. But the things that bug me about the woo. The people that bug me the most, and I'm not attacking people's individual religiosity. I'm talking about those that need to try to apply biblical literacy, as in literal sense, to everything, Bigfoot included. He must be the offspring of the fallen angels. No. A zebra is a freaking striped, basically a striped burro knockoff. They're more burro than horse. But they are an ornery, undomesticated animal. Man and the Bible, the Quran, the I Ching have nothing to do with why a zebra has stripes. They just do. Bigfoot is out there or it isn't. And many a culture have the traditional folklore surrounding the so-called wild man. Did not realize this was going to be so far uphill. But again, like last week at least, and it's not as bad as last week was insane. The first hour of that trek was quite the thing. But same thing with Bigfoot must be an alien. We had one of those guys in one of my groups on Facebook for a while. And aside from the fact his logic was up his ass, so Bigfoot's an alien that comes down to Earth, and then, you know, in spite of having the apparent high technology or mystical powers to get here from there, he then does nothing more than hang out in the woods and hide from people that have shittier toys than him. That just doesn't make sense. Unless you're a lonely old man with nothing better to do than listen to Art Bell and related stuff all day. Sorry. I might need a segment break in a minute. But that also plays... We're going to get to this plateau and stop for a minute. That also plays into the the portals, the orbs, the mind speak, the cloaking shit. That is lazy thinkers trying to fill a puzzle piece hole by cutting off the edges to a piece that doesn't fit. And I don't buy mind speak simply because, and I'm not saying that telepathy does not exist. Kind of an apple and an orange. I need to catch my breath if I'm going to keep yapping. But aside from the fact no one's produced any evidence of a walking, talking, psychic humanoid in the woods, because I'm not going to call it a mere ape or monkey, because we have bonobos, we have the other new substrate of chimpanzees, new populations that we've discovered. But that's exactly the point. We've discovered them. There are, in the meantime, there are in the Amazon uncontacted tribes that know the common cold will wipe out half their village. They know we're bad for them. There's a break-off tree if you want to look at that for a minute. Why do they avoid us? How do they avoid us? They're adapted to their environment by thousands of years, and they're human and they're just as smart as any one of you or I. They use spears and blowguns and shit like that. But if you hung out with them for a month in the woods and you were a bushcrafter, I'm willing to bet they could teach you shit that would up your bushcraft game like 100-fold, because they've been doing this shit for years. They actually rely on it for day-to-day survival. And that's why if Bigfoot lives basically in this and is able to outmaneuver a bunch of hikers or people with cameras talking into them like I am, when I'm talking in the woods like this, I'm probably really not that hard to avoid. They hear me coming. I have conducted experiments in the woods where I have tried to hide from hikers in plain sight. And the reason I know they're coming is they're yelling at their dog down the trail away. And you'll hear them half a mile away. So you have time to prepare and get out of the way and just kind of hunker in and watch them walk right by you. Hikers have a very low rate of doing this. Looking the bleep up. And I don't want to do selfie mode. Hold on. Motherfucker. Sorry. Pardon my French. Ignore the profanity. And my lousy camera control. The point is, they don't look up. A younger Bigfoot, all he has to do to avoid people is climb a tree and be quiet. How many people walked by you today, Junior? It was a busy trail. I lost count. That's simple. What do I think they are? They are a more primitive version of a human derivative. I say that because every time we think we know the entire human life story, or humanish life story, we discovered, what is it, the Desnovians and the Hobbits and folks like this that were derivatives of our own. And they were actually there. They existed, they were there. The Hobbit sounds almost like little people argument, but there does seem like there's actually fossil evidence that these little guys were around and were a derivative version of a humanish hominid that probably had similar mental capacity to our own, with the caveat that they grew up in the jungle, and that's where they know how to apply their skills day to day. And for all our techie toys, people like that probably laugh their ass off when they see Westerners trying to go into the jungle and mimic their skills and wonder how the hell we survived so long. Because what they learned between the years of like 3 and 5, we probably have forgotten over generations. Not a thrill of this uphill mud shit. So I'm also not harping about the bug factor, which is not insignificant right now. So is it possible that a derivative humanoid could evolve with abilities like this to compensate for lack of technology? Dolphins are very intelligent animals. They don't have an opposable thumb, but they have complex language, and they can do really cool shit with sonar, which is sort of kind of an argument in favor of infrasound, which is one of the more wooish things in Bigfoot that I do lend some potential credence to, because I've actually had an experience that potentially plays into that subject matter. And there's an actual precedence in biology where mammals may actually have varying capacities to do that kind of thing. So, most of whom are mammals. So, gauging by the ascent, the way back is going to be a cakewalk, all downhill. But so mind speak, educated people call it telepathy. Rubes and Hicks call it mind speak. Whatever. Does it exist? Well, there was enough idea it might that the military has played with ESP when we called it that. But and then you get into the whole realm of clairvoyance, remote viewing, and all that stuff. Then you get into the more esoteric. If these critters are out there and had half that ability, it might well be they wouldn't need technology from an evolution standpoint. But then you get to orbs and portals and shit. There are no evidence-based examples of either that are remotely credible. The colonoscopy picture that Matt Johnson played for his portal is that. It's a medical picture. And seeing as he is a pseudo-medical person, it is to be argued he would have access to these things, potentially. Or know people that could get them for him. Even though, ethics-wise, that's almost certainly a HIPAA violation, but can we level off for a while? This kind of sucks at this point. Nope. Although it is getting maybe a little bit more gradual. So, there are other individuals that fall into this realm. I negate them by their lack of mention, but for the sake of argument, Scott Carpenter is completely full of shit. Chris Noel, same, and is probably the nerdlinger of the Bigfoot world, if not Al Henkes, who made the claim, interestingly, taking a cheap shot at a certain Facebook group. This guy was actually on a podcast claiming Bigfoot could get COVID, and then recanted. The man's a hoaxer. And by calling him a man, I'm being very generous. Anyway. Portals. Show me an example that isn't a medical picture of something weird and blurry and red. Now, you do have the circumstances where Adam Davies and another guy whose name I forget were with Johnson when this alleged portal thing actually happened. And I have spoken to Adam Davies behind the scenes on this. And I'm going to take his word a lot sooner than I do Johnson's. And he says something happened there. But also claims in so many words Johnson embellished his words liberally. So it's debatable that even if Johnson had something happening, that he would not take advantage and embellish it past the point of credibility, which would negate any actual evidence as valid that he ever got. This is getting annoying because I'm slipping now. I'm just kind of bored with the uphill. Looks like we plateaued for a few. The point is, there's nothing that actually supports these theories. And by theory, I'm being generous. More likely, and for those of my friends that are on the woo side of the aisle, not a shot at you directly, but this is an example where somebody made up some bullshit, possibly while heavily intoxicated, and like-minded believers, spelled erroneously Bleevers, just grabbed onto it, and you can blame this all on copycatism. It's the same reason people know that all aliens are little gray dudes with big black eyes and big bulbous heads. Because one person said so, probably Travis Walton, and then the internet came along and threw that everywhere. By the same token, you have the folklore tale of the Beast of Bray Road. All of a sudden you have the internet, and you have Dogman. Been out in the woods a lot, never seen one. I will say this though, if I ever ran into one, friendly or not, that is going to tweak my hobby set. I draw the line at werewolves, or whatever the fuck you would think they are. Do I believe in them? No. And I would not be happy to be wrong. Aliens, maybe you could communicate, and even if they took you up on the ship, maybe you could work something out to be released or something, but that would still be terrifying, but not in the whole, they want to eat me alive like Dogman thing. Yeah, we seem to level off for a while. So, till proven otherwise, portals, bullshit. Orbs, bullshit. Dusty bug light reflection things, easily explained. And all the people that say they've seen them, show proof. I'll happily hear you out. I'm not saying you'll never change my mind, but anything and everything Woo related begins with fantastic claims, fantastic proof, please. I've yet to see any. And I've been in the woods, and I've encountered some weird shit of my own. I have probably been infrasounded. I have seen them up close. And they are very much fresh, they are very much flesh and blood. They're not all 8 feet tall either. The ones I saw were, the bigger of the two probably had a half a foot on me. They are a lot bigger in the chest region, but unless you go to Walmart too much, if you know what I mean. But they're not all huge. I think that is a reflection, excuse me, of the available diet. I'll use the brown bear as an example. The inland brown bears are big, but Kodiak bears are like ridiculously big. Kodiak bear wants to eat you. There's nothing you have to say about it. Unless you're in a moving vehicle and have the means to get the hell out of there then and there, you are done. You are his lunch because he says so. Anyway, I am going to take a segment break, if only to save some camera battery, and we will catch our breath a little bit, try to contend with the bugs a little bit, We'll be back in a bit. Thanks. Okay, we are back, and you notice the trail has gotten smaller. We have found the sign that brings us to the pond. And as suspected, the way in and the way here was a lot less arduous than last week. That is definitely doing it the hard way. There was also no effing sign there. So my theory has now actually been confirmed. The bastard that based my trail experience last week actually posted a sign from right over there, which is not on the long trail. It is actually, it's probably not, I mean, where I am versus where I was last week, at this juncture, there's probably a point where I pass by this area by a couple hundred yards. And if I wanted to overland that on the far side of the pond, I'd probably hook up with that trail. But as arduous as that goddamn trail was going downhill on the way back, I'm going to say no to that. So we're going to get to the pond. I just thought I'd do that upgrade. I want to take a moment to gloat and say that I actually did confirm that theory, which I had suspected all the way home last week. And I did not get hailed on. I don't know if it actually ended up hailing last week. I did end up calling. I was going to overnight, but my point was I was going to overnight at the trail. This is much easier. I'm willing to do that, but I want to get a look at the pond and scout out if there's a decent area to set up a hammock and just hang out. Because I've seen literally one guy at the very beginning of the trail, and I don't know what it is with trail people in the last few weeks. They are not friendly. This guy gave me a dirty look and was trying to control his seemingly friendly dog. Last week, the guy, there's a point where I don't know if I actually edited him out or if I actually have him on the camera, but there's a point where I actually had a guy walk up and he just didn't want to give me the time of day when all I did was say hello. So, you know, at that you just say bleep you too and move on. We're going to get to the pond and then we'll resume, I guess. Let's see what the pond is actually like though. It says it's only a quarter mile from here, so that's not actually that bad. We will be back in a bit and achieve our mission accomplished statement, and we'll go from there. Okay, welcome back. I think the scenery is self-explanatory. I have got to the pond. I have confirmed second theory that getting here was a whole lot easier than going the other way, although the way in does have a junction trail from where I was last week. I don't know where I overshot that, but with the amount of energy that it was required to keep your eyes on your footing on that trail last week, it's kind of understandable. I might have overlooked it on the way in. But if I had overnighted here last week with cloudy, moody weather, it would have been nice. It'd be nice. I'm not going to do it this weekend, but now that I know the way in, that critical little piece of information is in my memory bank now. Ideally, you want to camp, you camp way the hell over there on the other side, where if anyone else joined you out here, you're on the other nice quiet side where no one bugs you. That being said, this is like a perfect fishing spot because you're like right on the water. This is like really nice for casting out. Right here. Perfect. It's a lovely, beautiful fucking day here too, pardon my French. Me and the dragonflies. So the other thing I accomplished while I was here, although I have become kind of superstitious with drones over water when there's a certain amount of wind. And it's not crazy windy, but windy enough that the lighter drone, being the Mini, long story short, one of the Wi-Fi antennas on my Spark controller needs some TLC, and so until that gets done, the Mini is the mainstay of the Nezen Air Force, but it's more susceptible to wind. And I've had some interesting experiences with the Spark, which does better in wind than the Mini on average, but we got the thing over the water. We got it up, not crazy high, but high enough to give an overall panoramic of the pond and the overlying scenery on the other side, which gets kind of mountainous, although you can't see it over the trees over there right now. That'll be in the video. So that is like the one thing I had hoped to accomplish. So if we do nothing else for the rest of the entire video, this is where I gloat and I declare mission accomplished as I glare down and watch the various dragonflies and whatever that bug was. And if I can get him in the shot, that guy right there, those guys, they are kind of like, they got a black tail, they're kind of blue on the top of their head, they're probably about 1.5 inches long, wingspan maybe 2 inches. I've seen them before, they're fairly common. But you know, they're plentiful. They're harmless. They don't bite anybody or anything. They're actually good to have. There's a camping trip I was on with Nezra years ago, and we were in an area known for being infested with bugs. And you had not this species of dragonfly. These things were like swamp monsters. They were easily like 3 inches long with a 4-inch wingspan. And that sounds like an exaggeration. I wish it was. But you could literally hear them go when they went go flying by with this weird scuttling noise. But you didn't have a single mosquito the entire evening. These things devoured them. It was crazy how many there were. We had this aerial frenzy a feeding frenzy of like 300 dragonflies that were just like, if you saw a single mosquito the entire night, it lasted like 2 seconds. And one of these things to fly by and just devour them. I mean, it gave me a whole new respect for bugs, like dragonflies. They made that evening quite interesting, considering not a lot else happened that night. That being said, I'm going to be done yapping. I'm going to take a look around, kind of get the lay of the land, kind of in anticipation of a camping trip out here, which we are now definitely going to do. This is beautiful. This is like a lovely spot in the middle of bleeping nowhere. Absolutely a must on the list now. We're not going to do it today because I had other plans, but the summer's young. It's June 4th. We got all of June to do this. God forbid I get 2 of the other Nezin guys out here, because that would be spectacular. Maybe I'll use this video for inspiration to drag them out of there. You know what I'm actually thinking right now? I'm gonna zoom and see if I can get a decent shot of it. Over there, I don't know if I'm getting it right. There's an outcropping of rock right there. That'd be a perfect fishing spot, actually. No, stay there. Okay, never mind. If I got it, I got it. If not, but it's like right over there. Perfect fishing spot. Enough talk out of me for now. I am going to have a look around, and then we're going to walk back up and out, and maybe see where the other trout of the trail is part of a smaller loop. Now that I've done this, I feel a better sense of accomplishment than last week. But I wasn't under a hail threat this week. We're going to get going, and we'll be back in a bit. Thanks. Okay, I'm going to do the outro kind of on the run, because I am literally surrounded by deer flies right now, and I'm getting eaten alive. If I stop to talk, I'm going to get chewed up. So we're going to do this one on the run. So, as seen, I made it to the pond in question. I do intend to do an overnight there. Probably closer to the time when the bugs get a little less. And I can probably get to have at least 2, if not 3, network members out there for a multi-person night operation. It's quiet here today. Kind of makes me wonder if the hairy ones kind of like lay low in this time of year to avoid these damn biting things. I can't imagine they like them any better than we do. If they have a secret for keeping them away, you know, share with the class, please. Not such an arrogant putz, I wouldn't be willing to learn. So, the mission's accomplished. All theories from last week have effectively been confirmed. There is a way that does connect from the AT on the long trail. How far off the beaten path that is, I don't know. On the map, it looked to be anywhere between a quarter to a half mile at the time. The one from this trail system, about a quarter mile. Not too bad a hike. We did get there. We did confirm that it's much easier getting there from here than the other way. So this is the favored route. And we're going to take the win in the day and do the typical fade out YouTuber thing and say thank you for watching and listening. A special pox on these deer flies. I estimate I'm probably having about 100 plus of them flying around me, no lie, right now. And the one saving grace of the pond is that if I do camp out there, the dominant bug in great numbers there, as I said before, are dragonflies. And they eat crap, like the crap that's biting me right now. So the friend of my friend, well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, you know. I've been in a situation like that before, and it worked out. So let there be a bazillion and one dragonflies out there, and all the power to them. Eat up. A fat dragonfly is a human not getting bitten up by deer flies and skeeters. That is a good thing. That being said, this is where we're going to sign off. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe if you feel so moved. Tell me I suck if you hate me. I'll respond either way. My ego is not so fragile, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening, and we're going to say good day. Bye.